All right, gang. Good morning. Welcome back. How's everyone doing today? Let me know if you guys can hear me and see my screen as we get ready for our final day before the Thanksgiving break. Good, just freezing. Yeah, I think it's cold out here today as well. Cold out today, but tomorrow will be nice and warm as we get to gather inside, pantsless, of course, and stuff our face with food. So we mentioned this earlier. Not expecting too much from the markets this week. It is a holiday week. Today's an interesting day, however, though, because we have a little bit of a data dump today. If you look on the economic calendar, we've got GDP coming out. We got PCE coming out at 10. GDP is at 8:30 as normal. Core PCE is at 10, and we have some FOMC minutes that are at 2 o'clock, which, as I read more about them, I don't think they're going to be as impactful as what we may have thought yesterday. But we're kind of sneaking in all this news before the holiday and what should be a very light trading session. So I still think you need to be aware every time you have somewhat high impact news events coming out in a low liquidity or a lower liquidity type of market. You tend to see some moves that could be a little bit wonky. But if you're like most of us, you probably don't really have much interest in trading today. So we're going to get started just like yesterday. Not a lot on my radar at all, but one thing I wanted to follow up on was our gold idea from months ago. If you guys remember, months ago, we looked at this. We had a few things setting up. We had both a head and shoulders pattern and we had a Cypher pattern. We're going to start by kind of reviewing, and I'll draw that back on, right? We had the head and shoulders pattern that looked like this. Left shoulder, down here is our head. Return to our neckline, right shoulder, and then finally broke it right about here. We also had a bearish Cypher setting up as well, right? So the start of this downward move was our X to A. This first retracement was our A to B. Our extension right down here was our B to C. And our D completion came right at our 786, which was right up here. You see the Cypher rolled over pretty nicely. Now, we talked about different ways to attack this, right? We had a conversation about, hey, if you're a Cypher trader, you can do this. If you are a head and shoulders trader, you can do that. This was also an opportunity where you can do both. You can trade it directly from the Cypher into the head and shoulders pattern. Because the thing about the head and shoulders pattern, for most people, I guess it all depends on how you want to trade it. One way to trade a head and shoulders is the breakout, right? You wait from the breakout of the neckline and you look to trade it on the way up. What is a different way of trading the head and shoulders? If you're not going to trade the breakout, what is an alternative way of trading it? Yeah, you can wait for the pullback. And lo and behold, with that Cypher rolling down, hitting targets, we're now putting in a pullback. So if you are a head and shoulders trader, this is going to be an opportunity to look for a buying opportunity. Something else that is interesting, just on, we do all technical analysis here, as you guys know, but we do pay attention to the news. We've seen, we always call it gold is melting, right? We've seen a melt off in gold over the last couple of days. And a lot of that is fueled by Jerome Powell being reinstated for another 4 years or whatnot. So the whole kind of economic policy, dovish, hawkishness, is there going to be any changes in monetary policy, or are we going to kind of stay course? And I think that we're seeing an overreaction, right? Nothing has really changed in the market, and we're seeing this overreaction on gold, where we're seeing this massive sell-off. And I think what we're going to notice is that kind of, and probably, may see it today. Again, I don't think we're going to get much out of the FOMC minutes, but I think we're going to see kind of a correction where people are going to realize, like, hey, why are we changing our opinions again? Nothing has really changed. And you're going to see an opportunity for gold to kind of return to what it was doing beforehand. So that could be a sneaky move on the fundamental side as well. And when we look at this pullback, right, we have a few things setting up here. And we're coming into a previous level of structure. So, right, if you're familiar with how we draw out structure, right, we draw these lines, right? So let's take a look at this move, swing low to swing high. We have our pullback right here, and then we have a move higher, and we're coming right into this zone with this lower level not being kind of the say all be all. That's going to be the right shoulder as far as entering as a head and shoulders pattern. But this lower level of structure should be the most important level, the first important level, I should say, that we come into if we're going to see some type of decision point and if the market's going to change its mind. And we can look for a few clues there. And by the way, we talked about this in the Ascension workshop. If you're having trouble kind of anyone having trouble kind of reading like ebbs and flows, pullbacks and whatnot, I got a cool little trick that's going to make life a lot easier for you. Yep. Wait for the retest. Wait for the retest. Yep. Here's a cool little trick. So, I love Japanese candlesticks. I think they are the best type of, the best view you can have on a chart because they tell us a story. They tell us, and they're visually appealing, and they tell us a greater story than other forms, right? Open, high, low, close, and the story in between. But sometimes they can get messy, right? You see a lot of wicks and tails and squiggly wigglies. A cool thing to do if you ever want some clarity on just like really important levels, go back to an old school line chart. Now, again, you can see it's not going to be exact, right? If I go back to my candlestick chart real quick, right? You see how the low is right here on my candlestick chart? And the low is important. The line chart's just going to show you the close. So again, you do want to have a full perspective. I think Japanese candlesticks are more important. But if you ever just want to kind of get a clear idea of where structure's at, right? Go to a line chart and you can see these ebbs and flows really clearly. You can really see that this was a previous pullback and extension back up. That's something that may help the eyes a little bit. But now we're looking for clues. So do we have any clues on the chart in front of us that we may be getting ready for a potential reversal? This pullback may be running out of steam, maybe coming for an end. You guys see anything? Or are you guys just thinking about food? For you guys here in America. Amari says, candles getting smaller, right? Candles getting smaller. So the spread of the candles getting smaller. What does that mean? What does that tell us? And referring to, again, always looking at a comparison to the previous candle. This one is still starting. It's the beginning of the day. So we're not going to count this one yet. But what is the candles running out of, what is the candlesticks getting smaller tell us? Exhaustion, momentum is slowing, right? We know that these bigger candles are going to be our higher momentum candles, right? As that spread or as that range gets smaller, right? Lower momentum. Yep. Good clue. Good clue that we may be running out of steam in this move. Billy says more battle. Is that taking the volume into account as well, Billy, like we talked about yesterday? Again, we don't want to talk too much about volume because, again, I'm still on the learning path about it. But we had a good conversation on how to use it yesterday. And yes, that is true, right? Larger range candle, higher volume. Now you would want to see, for an anomaly, you'd want to see higher volume with this lower range candle right here, right? So we're not quite getting that yet, but that could be something that we look at. What if I do this? What if I kind of inch this up right here? You guys see anything else specifically for trend continuation setups? So I like it. Loss of momentum. Yep. Hidden diversions. Yep. Notice that on our price chart, we've got a series of lower highs. Would you guys agree? You can even go back to this one right here, the start, the right shoulder, right? We go down to our RSI, relative strength index here, right? Or higher lows, excuse me, not lower highs, higher lows. Sorry about that, right? You got a series of higher lows, right? RSI, higher lows, higher lows. All of a sudden, however, this last move, right? Here to here, higher lows, we're seeing lower lows on our RSI. That's going to be hidden divergence. That's a clue that we can use in trending scenarios. So I was talking to, I shot an email to Ryan yesterday. I think Ryan's in here as well. Shot an email to Ryan yesterday. With Ryan was, I thought I saw Ryan in here. Did you leave, Ryan? Well, he's watching the recording. So Ryan has been, someone on YouTube said a potential bull Cypher too. I didn't even notice that. We can draw that in. That may be one as well. Thank you. I was talking to Ryan. Ryan was someone who started learning the daily chore, but he's kind of moved off of that and started really focusing on learning the IPDE process, right? Identify, predict, decide, execute, that 4-step process that we use to kind of, break down a price chart. And he was asking the question. He's like, well, what do I do now? What do I do now? Like, how do I know what strategy should I follow? He's gone through the mastery course. He's learned all of them. How do I know which one to pick out? Because it is one of those things where you kind of have to feel and understand what type of trader you want to be. And I told him that he should focus on CTS, not necessarily as combined technical scoring, right? Not necessarily as a strategy, but as the next piece of the puzzle. Right? Just adding different elements to his analysis, because the IPDE, the cool thing about that is it's going to be needed in any type of analysis. You could be a trend trader, you can be a counter trend trader, you can be a structured trader or a breakout trader, right? It's all going to be useful. So until you get to the point where you've kind of figured out what you like, I like double bottoms, I like double tops, this and that, implement that CTS system where you take all the skills that we teach you. You take the techniques, the AB equals CD patterns, structure, even handle numbers, higher time frame, and you develop that point score. And it's going to do two things for you. One, it's going to give you a consistent process in which you can analyze the charts, which is good, because we always talk about you want to have a routine, right? Consistent analysis plus consistent execution equals consistent results. But it's also going to allow you to see what things you like and what things you don't like. Do you like specific candlestick formations? Do double tops matter to you? Major structure, minor structure, AB equals CDs, do Fibonacci's matter? All of that fun stuff. So I think that's the next practical step. And something like hidden divergence is certainly something that could be added into that CTS score. So again, I don't think we're there yet, right? This is not a buy or anything right now. But as we venture into this level, right, we had a minor level in the 4-hour as well. You can see the kind of the loss of momentum here as well, as the market's starting to kind of just ebb and flow and dry up. But as we rally into these lows down here, start looking for opportunities for reversals and potentially buying gold and taking it back up to previous structure highs, and even beyond. Now, one thing, again, someone on YouTube, I'm broadcasting this first pair on somewhere on social media, a lot of places. Someone mentioned maybe a Cypher. Let's draw it out. I think the C leg's gonna be a little bit too far, but there's no harm in doing it. Yep, so close, right idea, right formation. The C leg's gonna be invalid, but right idea as far as looking for that extension and that potential pullback. But right idea. All right. Any questions on gold before we move on? Congrats to you guys that are in the bearish Cypher, by the way. But any questions on this pair before we move on? Going once, going twice. All right. If you're watching the live stream, I'm about to kick you off. I appreciate you joining. You guys in the live room, we're going to head over to another chart and continue our day.